Cop Talk on KUGN. Crime stats, prevention tips, criminal hotspots, and more on Cop Talk.
Well, you know the music every Thursday at this time, 7:40. It's Cop Talk. I'm Grant McHill alongside Storm Kennedy.
And we welcome in crime prevention specialist Kelly Putnam. Good morning, Kelly. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning.
Well, Kelly, there are always many things to talk about in terms of crime prevention. What's the hot topic this week?
We're talking about bike theft prevention and bicycle registration this week.
So as we talk about bike theft prevention and registration, and this is something we talk a lot about, however, I don't know how many times you have to hear it before you actually do something about it. How prevalent is bike theft right now during this time of year throughout Eugene?
Bike theft is always, unfortunately, really prevalent in Eugene, but especially this time of the year with new students on campus. The West University neighborhoods tend to get hit pretty hard, primarily because of the density of the population, and most of the students have bikes.
When you look at bike thefts in terms of what happened, what's typically the case? Is it they're not being locked, the lock isn't good enough? What usually happens?
Primarily, a lot of the folks are pretty good about locking their bikes, but primarily it's not sufficient. We really recommend that people do a double locking system where they run a cable through both wheels and then use a U-lock to secure it to whatever you're locking it to, the bike rack or whatever the case may be. We also see that I think a lot of people get a false sense of security when they've got a locked bike cage, like on the parking level of their apartment complex, and those tend to get hit really hard. They're not as secure as one might think, so it's always really important to lock your bike, even if it's inside the locked bike cage. We get a lot of folks who leave their bikes in the backyard unsecured or on their front porch. And, folks will walk right into the backyard and take the bike. So it's really important to lock it up really well, if at all possible. The best case scenario is to leave it inside your apartment, inside your house. If it's in the garage, make sure you leave your garage door shut, because we've got a lot of folks who lose their bikes because they've left their garage door open and somebody just walked in and grabbed it.
Really good point. Now, you talked about locking it and going through both wheels with a cable and then using a U-lock. How often, I guess, what's the percentage of bikes that are stolen with, often you do see the tire still there, the U-lock there, but they've unhooked the main part of the bike from one of the wheels.
Right, and the key is to just make it as difficult as possible. We've got folks who just have the wheels stolen because the frame is locked up, or vice versa. Really it's a crime of convenience. Occasionally somebody will be going after a particular type of bike or a really expensive bike, but for the most part, they're going to grab the easiest one to take. So the more difficult you make it, they're going to move on to the next one that may be easier.
How often, once a bike is stolen, is it found and returned to the owner?
Well, we find them quite frequently. Unfortunately, the rate of return to the owner is pretty small, primarily because most folks don't keep their serial number handy or in their files someplace. So when the bike is stolen, they don't have the serial number, and it's really difficult for us to get the bike back to the owner without the serial number, because there are so many bikes of, they're 500 blue Magna 18 speeds, and without a serial number, we really have no way to determine that. Bike registration is also a really good way to get your bike back.
We know that works. I mean, firsthand, I actually found a bike that was dumped on my property, called you guys. They had their bike registered with the serial number, found the owner. It was a bike worth over $1,000. So whether it's worth over $1,000, whether you got it for $20 at a garage sale, if there's a serial number, how do you go about the registration process?
There are a couple different ways. You can either come down to one of our substations. That would be the downtown public safety station across the street from the library, or the West University station at the corner of 13th and Alder, and you can fill out the form there. Or you can go to our website, eugenepolice.com, and go to the link for prevention and safety, and then there's another link for bicycle theft prevention, and you can register your bike right there online, and we'll mail you the sticker.
If you come out in the morning and your bike is stolen, should you call police? I know a lot of people might think, oh, it's just my bike. Police don't need to get involved, but should you call them?
Absolutely. We really do find a lot of bikes, and if we don't know it's stolen, it's going to end up, in our property control unit collecting dust when it could have gone back to the owner.
She is Kelly Putnam with Crime Prevention for the Eugene Police Department, talking about bike theft and registration. There is a very special event, one last one. We've had we've had breakfast at the bridges with bike registration on hand at these breakfasts at the bridges. So, is there one last one?
There is.
Yeah.
There is one last bike registration for this season. It's Halloween, October 31st, in the morning at the Frohnmeyer Bike Bridge.
So that's a really cool event. I mean, what they do is they offer bagels and juice, I believe, and then you guys are on hand to register bikes right then and there, right?
Yes.
Very cool. At the Frohnmeyer Bridge on Halloween. That's a great way to round out the season with the breakfast at the bridges.
And Kelly, before we let you go, if someone wants to register their bike online, once again, how can they do so?
EugenePolice.com, and then to Prevention and Safety, and to Bike Theft Prevention.
And that wraps up another Cop Talk with Crime Prevention Specialist Kelly Putnam in studio with us from the Eugene Police Department. Thanks so much, Kelly. Really appreciate what you do.
Thank you.